Well, hello, folks. So today I want to get back to this topic of first principles and personality and leftism. And I mentioned last time basically the infantilized adult, right, that the tyrannical mother creates. I also mentioned, though, that there is this idea, this archetypical idea of a tyrannical father, right? Because the mother devours the child to the point where they are completely helpless without the mother. They are attached still, if you would. And this serves the mother that the child never leaves her. And it is the father in the relationship, in the balance of things, that is supposed to raise the children to be mentally, emotionally, and physically capable of escaping into the world and building a life for their own. You know, as the biblical saying goes, for this reason, a man will leave his mother and father. That's the point of marriage. You wish to go then perpetuate your lineage and pass down your wisdom to the next generations and perhaps your wealth as well. This is how, as a culture and as a species, we have always survived. And of course, this is being threatened. So, what is the tyrannical father? Well, the tyrannical father is the overbearing father, the one who has all the restrictive rules, the one who wants you to be exactly like him, who he is, follow in his footsteps. That is an individual who is not balanced. That is an individual who believes that their way is always the best way, and they aren't willing to listen to others. Now, as I say that, perhaps you can see the political ties here with the type of personalities that may wish to gain power. And we have a situation right now where certain individuals, men specifically, because this is a type of male trait, right? This is a type of male interaction with the world. There's the benevolent father as well. We should understand that. There's two sides of this coin. The benevolent father, the greatest archetype of, is God the Father. And that would be any man who is just a good, active dad, right? But the tyrannical father is something different. He's the guy that's always pushing his children into things that they aren't really interested in because he believes it is necessary for them, right? And it's not the same thing as setting up boundaries, putting restrictions on your children, asking them to have certain standards. Those are something different. Those are something that we all have to live with, as we are social creatures, and those things exist. We create them within our societies, and a lot of them are actually very intrinsic things. They're deeply encoded within our genetics and DNA. And with that, when you marry and you procreate, what you find is that your children are a amalgamation of you and your spouse, and also their own individual character. You know, I have two girls, one who's an adult and one who's just a baby or a toddler, and very different personalities. My little one is absolutely like fearless and wild and super active. And my oldest, of course, she's, 18, but when she was a child, she wasn't like that. No, she explored, she did things babies do, but she was less adventurous than my other child. My baby girl loves to dance. She loves to sing. She's got a musical heart to her. So that would be something that perhaps we'd want to explore with her as she gets older, right? Well, the tyrannical father is the type to say, well, yeah, I can see that, but, it's going to be a better, instead of you pursuing these things, it's going to be a better career path if you do this, X, Y, and Z. And that X, Y, and Z might be, you need to become a doctor, you need to become this, you need to become that, almost like an Asian family, right? And this is a pretty typical kind of thing within Asian families too. Very strict. You're going to do this. This is how it's going to be. And if you know anybody that grew up like that, oftentimes they either go along with it or they find it really, really repressive. But regardless, this is a state of being, a state of mind, an archetype, if you would, a personality that doesn't care actually what is best for people. Remember that whole care and fairness thing we talked about last time and the moral foundations? They don't care at all, actually, what's best for people. They care what they can do. They care what they can manipulate and control. See, someone is always going to try to control you. They're going to be tyrannical because of their fear of letting go, their fear of that wonderful, dangerous freedom, their fear of losing either a relationship, their power, whatever it might be, whatever they're valuing. But it is that type of individual who is the individuals leading a lot of the world. Because the people who don't care, the people who just want to be left alone and want to live their own lives and enjoy freedom, well, they're not naturally inclined toward that power. They're not naturally inclined to want to control the world. For instance, within myself, I'm a very kind of laid back guy. You know, I kind of let things slide. I don't like to take myself too seriously, although I'm a very serious person a lot of times. I make a lot of serious YouTube content, right? But in general, I'm not trying to control everything in the world around me. I don't try to control other people. I set my boundaries, and I either have the conversations with people and let them know that I didn't appreciate they did something, or if they don't, nothing works out with them, then I just cut them out of my life. I just let them go. And most of the time, it's not like one of those things where I have to actively like hardcore block or do anything like that. I'll give you an example from some years ago before I was with my wife. I had dated this girl briefly for a couple weeks, a long time, I don't know, over 10 years ago now. And she was like 20, and when I first met her, and I hadn't seen her in some years, and then I ran into her again. She was like 25, 26, 27, and so we went out like twice. We hung out, and she's a really cute girl. I liked her, but I knew she had some issues. When I first saw her, I had a lot of issues because I was still healing emotionally from a lot of things. But she did some stuff that I found kind of shady. Both times we went out, we went out like twice in like 3 weeks. And after the second time, I just, she hit me up because she wanted to come see me. And I was like, yeah, well, I can't, not right now, da-da-da-da. And then it just faded off. I didn't need to block her. I didn't need to make a big deal about it. I just let what happens happen. And sometimes you have to be more aggressive than that. But the point is that I saw something in her that I didn't see when I dated her some years before, because I was trapped in my own emotional toxicity. I didn't see her emotional toxicity, and I, at that point in my life, was healing from those things and didn't want to invite that kind of stuff back into my life. That's not any sort of tyranny. I didn't put anything on her. What happened there is I decided that wasn't right for me, so I was just going to move on. The tyrannical father type, they can't do that. They can't do that. They would have taken that person and they would have fought with them. They would have tried to shape them and mold them. They'd have done all the bad things that anyone does in any sort of relationship that you shouldn't be doing. I mean, the bottom line is that we all, joke and mess around with each other as friends. Guys do this as a form of testing. And to some degree, we are actually psychologically manipulating each other, but it's not for a true end. It's not for a true control. It's to test, right? We're testing the mettle of the person. We're testing how strong they are and if we can trust them. If they're the kind of person that we can deal with. You push a guy and he gets way out of control, emotional, upset, whatever else. He's demonstrating a highly neurotic character. And in that might not be a guy that you can trust. Let's say, I don't know, if you need to protect your family or your village or whatever, because that person is going to freak out, right? They're going to freak out when the hard times come, when the battles come, that whole weak men, hard times thing, right? So the tyrannical father, again, this archetype, you can look more into the archetype, I just wanted to address this since I kind of talked around it, is, again, it's a different kind of motivation than the devouring mother. The devouring mother doesn't want to be left alone. She wants a child, a baby, forever. And essentially, it's a misplaced aspect of their natural biology. And our culture sees a lot of this because of the lack of balance in our families. Too many single moms, right? Not enough fathers around. Not enough fathers allowed to have access often when they want them. Not everyone is so fortunate to go through some sort of separation or divorce or whatever when a child's involved and to get full custody like I did. That's not generally the case. I was very blessed by God in that endeavor. But the tyrannical father isn't afraid to lose their child. The tyrannical father is more concerned about how the child reflects on them. And therefore, they have to control that behavior. And you see this in, again, the government, the people that want power, the people making the rules, the people pushing things forward. Now, in part, I will always say this, there is an occultic side to this. There is a satanic side to these things. I'm not saying everybody who's in power or anything like that. I'm just saying that it does exist, and you're a fool to believe otherwise. But generally, aside from that, this is what it comes down to. People who are afraid to give up control. And with that, a lot of weak men become the tyrannical father. Because, see, guys, violence and control is a position of weakness. And I know that's not what a lot of men believe today. And trust me, I can fight. I'm a little scrapper, guys. I can fight. And I don't just say that like, oh, yeah, Bill can fight. Yeah. He's just running his mouth like most people do. No, I actually have like an 18-year history profession in violence, okay? I've trained for a really long time, since I was like 11 in martial arts. Everything from weapons, improvised weapons, all kinds of stuff. I can do and show you some really cool, fun stuff you're not going to get in your local dojo karate class or whatever. Now, why am I saying all that? Because I'm a man who doesn't want to be violent. And I know anytime I've generally ever been violent in my life, that, right, professionally, whatever, it's always been because I needed to control somebody. And it gives you a sense of inflated power, but it's tyranny, right? And how are things being operated right now within our government? With violence toward individuals, with violence toward certain groups, right? We know about liberating and repressive tolerance, but this is about control. And they know that because of Christian ideals in the West, and because of how we have developed those ideas over the past several hundred years, especially since the Enlightenment, and in the last century or so, we are actually a weaker people who are less willing to use violence, so much so that people have calls for, getting rid of guns and all this other stuff. I mean, I know there was a shooting the other day that's one crazy person who felt out of control, needed to commit violence. It's much harder to walk away. It's much harder to turn your cheek. That's not to say that I'm not willing to fight for something either. But what I'm saying is that if your go-to is violence, if your go-to is control, you are in the moral wrong. And it is not a position of strength. In fact, it's a position of weakness. It's a position of weakness because if you had strength, you could just simply persuade. You would simply have people follow you. I find this all the time. I have, amongst friends and work environments, whatever, I almost always naturally emerge to be some sort of leader, even though I'm a reluctant leader most of the time. And that's another conversation we could get into, right, on these first principle kind of things, because I've had people be like, oh, reluctant leader isn't really a good, effective leader. And I'm like, no, actually, that's the best leader you can possibly get. Because the one who wishes to control is never in it for you. He's never in it for the group. He's almost always in it for himself. And that needs to be understood. It really does. Because I hear so much stuff in so many different realms about this, and it's just not right. In any case, this has been All Minus One. My name is Bill, and I wish you all well.